I recently lost a sweet old lady whom I had known for about 30 years. She was my parents' next door neighbor in Brazil and she passed away at the age of 93. She used to be my nanny when I was little and I spent a lot of time at her house. And one of the things I remember about her is how she always had a bunch of animals in her backyard: dogs, cats, chickens. And in recent years, my dad often helped her with chores around the house because at this point she was living by herself and couldn't really fix anything anymore. My dad would tell me how her cat love was out of control as she was living with 20 cats inside of the house. But she didn't always have 20. She used to have like one or two, but slowly they began to multiply and she felt sorry for them, so she would let them live inside the house. Imagine how bad that cat smell was inside the house. The cats were pooping or peeing inside, and this poor 93-year-old lady couldn't keep up with all the mess the cats were making. My dad told me that he would go inside her house and it stunk so bad. But the interesting thing is that she didn't seem to care. She was so used to living in that mess that it just became normal and the smell didn't bother her. And I really loved that sweet lady, but when I think of this whole thing with the cats and I just can't help but think of how sin does the same thing in our lives. Sometimes we just have that one little sin that we have adopted and it doesn't seem to cause any harm, but it doesn't take long and that sin can take over and we don't always realize how bad it is because we're so used to living in it. In Genesis 4, we see the account of Cain and Abel. Knowing that Cain is so angry, God comes to him and says, "Hey, sin is crouching at your door and it desires to have you, but you must rule over it." However, Cain did not listen to God and did not take control to rule over the sin and proceeded to kill his brother. And this was the first case of murder in the history of humanity. This is a reminder that the enemy is crafty and that sin is a murderous thing. It might feel like it's just a sweet little kitty, but when you welcome into your life, it can very rapidly grow out of control. The thing is, everyone has sinned and falls short of the glory of God. And as humans, we are buried in our sins and it's a mess to the point where we cannot help ourselves. We need someone who is actually able to clean all this mess, and the only one who can do it is Jesus. He said about himself, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." We need to place our faith and trust in him, knowing that he is the only one and he's the only way we can be fully redeemed and made clean.